Gaming. I'm Kat, and I am, well, today, right now, I am doing painting for Tainted Grail characters. So I'm planning to start off with Min here, which are these giant statues you put around on the board. They're pretty big compared to a normal character. So here is a normal Min here, and this is a character. You can see it's like 3 times the height of a normal character. And these, I'm going to assume, are mostly stone statues with maybe aspects of wood and chains and candles. And I am going to attempt to paint these as best as I possibly can. I've only painted a couple figures. I've gotten better at it. But I found that Tainted Grail characters are a lot more detailed than I was expecting, in honesty. Like, the main characters aren't as detailed as some of the others, but then you look at these statues and some of the monsters, and it's like, holy cow, they have the tattoo grooves on these things. So, we're going to start off by base painting things. It'd probably help if I shook my paint up a little bit. But I'm planning to start off by base painting all of these black to get started with. And I don't really use any type of... I normally do a bunch of hand painting. I'm not much of one for using spray, because I don't really like that, and I think it takes a really long time to dry. So, like I said, I normally hand paint all my things. That does normally take a lot longer. I find it a lot better, because you can get... Though it isn't as nice sometimes because, well, I mean, you're taking a while painting. Just the thing's a base color, for one. And I guess the other problem with it is that sometimes brushes sometimes have a hard time getting into grooves, where if you're spraying something, it's pretty much just compact air out of a bottle, and you're trying to spray it on, so you can get really tight grooves. But the problem is, sometimes if there is no area, like if you're spraying it like this, right in front, you might miss what's under hands, or underneath the sword, or stuff like that. It doesn't mean a brush is any better, but, you know. Yeah, sorry, I'm a very chatty person. Even if it's just painting, I like to talk quite a bit. Especially when I have no one to banter with. Because that's normally what I do with my dad, is that I chat with him a lot. Like, see, he's downstairs right now. Which means no fun for me. But that could just be my idea of things. So, at least I've gotten part of it done. Yeah, like I said, it does take a long while just for base painting. Oops, I forgot to grab water too. I normally have a little tin of water so I can clean my brushes a bit easier between runs. So normally there's a little tin right here that I normally fill with water. Forgot to. Yeah. I'm going to step away for a second to fill my little tin up with water. It would probably help if I didn't put my brush right on top of where I'm about to grab. But I will be right back. I just need to grab some water. Sorry about that, folks. Hold on, I just need to check something. So, it's normally a lot more fun when I have someone to banter with. It's too quiet, in my opinion. See, it's way too quiet. All I hear is machines and the dishwasher running and all that. There's no one to talk to. So then I'm talking to myself. Which normally means that you're crazy, but I'm not. I'm not crazy most of the time. Okay, in all honesty, I just have no idea what to talk about right now. Considering base painting takes so long to do. Especially when you're using a little tiny brush like this. Bye, person over in the corner.
Crashing stream.
I know, that's the reason I said, hello, person in the corner. What? I don't have anybody to banter with. And I'm talking to myself now.
That's not unusual for her to do this, just so everybody knows on stream.
I talk to myself quite often, even when I'm doing my homework.
She does. This is Bobby from Day After Day Gaming, letting Kat stream her own little painting shop tonight.
Though apparently I've already messed up with trying to type the thing in. And apparently I added some classic thing.
Yeah, I don't know, DS Masterpiece Painting or something, I don't know.
I don't know what I did. All I know...
Next time, she'll make sure it's board games. Have fun!
Yeah. You could join me.
Oh, I'm good. Have fun. Bye.
Dang it.
Throw on some music or something.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Just take a little volume.
Yes, but I wouldn't know what to put on. You suggested I put music on, but the problem with that is that I have no idea what to put on. I don't really have a good music playlist. Most of my friends hate it. But that's mainly because most of the songs I listen to are rock and roll, or pop, or classics sometimes, or more classical type of music. And most of my friends despise that stuff. So I feel bad if I made you guys listen to my horrible sense of music. Because in all honesty, it's pretty bad. Oh, now he's got me thinking about it. This is all your fault. I can hear him laughing at me. Why? Why is he laughing at me? I've only gotten part of this thing done. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to subjugate you slightly to the music on Spotify. Though, again, I have a horrible sense of music. That's if it wasn't playing ads. Don't you just love it when you're trying to listen to something and ads start playing randomly? Fun times. Just waiting for the ad to go away so that we can listen to some, well, not ads. Anybody else like the side of my building? It's all wet with paint. Trying to make sure that I don't fill up any of the crevices with any black paint because I don't want it to sink in any of the major detail because that I don't like it getting flooded with paint. That's not a good thing. I don't even know what this is playing. I don't even think this is on my playlist. Oh, apparently it is. Love when you forget music's on your playlist. Don't even know this song. It's probably a good thing it's a song I don't know. I'd probably start singing. That'd probably retro to all your guys' ears. Because I seem to always forget when music is playing and I'll start singing along and entirely not realize it that I'm singing. My friends find it so annoying. So. But hey, I've almost gotten the entire... Well, I've gotten about half of the leg portion of our statue. This statue finished. That's good at least. Then I've got to grab the gray and put the gray on top of this to make it look more like stone. Or I might just use a dry brush for this, but I'm not sure. Because I don't really follow the normal rules of how you're supposed to paint a miniature, like at all. Like, it's normally supposed to be like dry last and layer is like second and then, and shade is second and then you have layer, and I'm like, I don't like doing that. So I have a habit of doing my shade like last. So I'm like, if you put the shade on, then you're kind of gonna cover it up maybe later with other colors. And it's like, well, if you're putting layer on top of the base coat, which has shade on top of that, then you're just covering up the shade. Because the base coat will at least go through. But whatever you did for the shade isn't going to come through. So I'm like, you know what? We're just going to go with layer brushing. And then I normally do the dry brush afterwards. And then go back to shade. Because I find that easier. But in all honesty, I've never actually used a dry paint for anything this big. Since this is going to be a more stony type of thing. And there's lots of places where the paint could hook on. This is going to be one of the first real figures that I've had that easily does dry brushing. Because most of the other ones I've done so far are a little too smooth to hook on to anything. But that's just normally me. And I'm very sorry if you guys hate my taste in music. I'll turn it down some so you guys aren't getting subjugated to it. But yeah. Like my dad said, I do have a habit of talking to myself when doing anything because I hate silence. It annoys me unless I'm reading or in class, and then I sing hallelujah because I get headaches in class way too easily. Especially when it's full of loud people. You can't be quiet, and I'm like, well, at home I like being talkative and I like talking to people, but when I'm in class, I'm just like, no. I really rather not talk too much. Like, I don't mind talking here and then, but I don't like when the teacher's talking and all that. It's just like, could you be quiet? Some of us are actually wanting to learn. I want to know what's going on. And I'm having the hardest time holding this figure right now. And getting into the grooves. Since the only problem with these men here is there's lots of different things that are behind other objects. Like, there's a rib cage behind the hands. There's things behind the sword and all that. And also, whenever you're base painting, you want to make sure you don't get a ton of paint inside of overly detailed spots, because then you might, well, flood the detailed spots, and you really don't want to do that, because then you're kind of clogging up the detail. It's not a good thing because then you're losing detail, which means, like, this figure has, like, skeletal type of fingers, and You really don't want to get those full of paint, because if you try to do a dry brush over them to make them pop out a bit more, a little more white, you're going to get no detail at all when doing this. And I'm very sorry to everybody who's watching that I'm very chatty. Again, I'm very sorry. I have a habit of just yapping on and on. But that's just me. Though I'm so happy to finally be doing a painting stream, because I've been wanting to do this for weeks. And maybe if I get around to it, I'm thinking about maybe painting the coins that go into the Menhir statue gold or silver. Like gold on the Holy Grail side and like silver on the skull side. So it's clear which half you're on. Because like my dad's character, Maggot, when you're in this place that has a dream, you have to flip a coin for a nightmare and a dream. And I'm like, well, I want them to be more distinctive than just there's a grail on one side and there's a skull on the other. I'd be like, well, it's gold on one side and it's silver on the other. It's bad if you get silver and it's good if you get gold. Since, also, I guess one thing I forgot to mention is that all of them in here I have given names. So the one I am presently painting right here is named Famine, because he has a giant hole in his stomach. Since this game is entirely based on the weirdness taking over and is destroying the land, I wanted to base these things off the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Yeah, let's watch an ad so I get 30 minutes free without ads. Then just blink out the ads. But, so I named all of these after the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, except for Death. But, the thing is, these are all skeletons, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal when I named them all. That there were only 3 of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, not all 4. Since the 4th one would be Death, like I said, and they're all skeletons, so I think Death is represented between the 3 of them. So, the one with a hole in his stomach is Famine, like I mentioned, because, well, he has no stomach. What would he eat? For one. The next one over, this one, he's holding a little Holy Grail in his hand, so I named him Pestilence. Since the Holy Grail is supposed to have magical properties that make you live forever or make you immortal or something like that. Healing, the list of the Holy Grail are healing properties, can make you immortal, at least based on Arthurian legend. The Holy Grail, and, well, not just Arthurian legend, but other things, but, like, if anybody's ever seen the TV series Merlin, the Holy Grail is used to heal wounds that are deemed to be unhealable, though with the sacrifice of another life. If the wound the person who's being healed has is life-threatening, their life has to be traded for another. So that's how, like, the Holy Grail works there, where it trades lives for people. There's other ones where, like I said, Holy Grail will heal, like they do in Merlin, but maybe not take the price of kill someone else. Then you also have the type of Holy Grail that heals sickness, which I would also go along with healing injuries, just because they're pretty much the same thing if you think about it. They're still both a type of healing. But I was so happy when we opened this box and it was like, Arthurian legend. What? Because it's quite a bit like Merlin Arthur's Tale. At least that's how I think. But I am a mythology and fairy tale geek. And no, I don't mean fairy tale the anime, though I am also a geek in that. But, like, I have a thing for, like, Egyptian mythology and Greek. And then you have Arthurian legend, which combines other things that I quite a bit like magic, kings, which made me really happy when one of my friends told me they had a TV series for Merlin, and I'm like, what? Because I didn't know that, because apparently I've been living under a rock for the last 5 years, or longer. Because she told me there's a whole series. There's a whole series about Merlin and Arthur, and I'm like, what? And then it's all about, it's like 5 seasons of Merlin saving Arthur's life constantly, and magic is banned in Camelot because of Arthur's father Uther, because Uther's a jerk. All because his wife Ingrain died. So that's how that story goes. And I'm like, yeah, there are multiple different stories for how one tale can go. Like, you have Cinderella, for instance, which is like, you have the Grimm fairy tales, and then you got the classical Disney stuff. And then they're so different. Because it's like, you watch Disney stuff, and then you go see Into the Woods, which puts like a bunch of the Grimm fairy tales together. And it's like, well, there's a difference. And there's the whole, I'm going to get your eyes poked out by crows for the stepsisters and stepmother. Fun time for them. And Rapunzel be given to Mother Gothel by her own parents because her mother wanted to have a type of plant that was called a Rapunzel. And because she was starving for it or something, craving it. So her husband went and stole from Mother Gothel, and Mother Gothel was like, no, you'll have to give me something else in return, your daughter, when she's born. Yeah, we're gonna trade a vegetable for the life of my unborn daughter. Great idea. Oh, great, I'm mumbling on about Disney and princesses again. Yeah, if you guys have not noticed, I like rambling quite a bit. Doesn't matter what the topic is. I'll go from one topic to the other in a blink of an instant. But I find it very boring if you're just watching someone paint something and they're not saying anything, because it's kind of anticlimactic if there's nothing going on around them. But hey, I'm almost done with this one, I think. The only problem with Famine is there's a hole in the stomach, so when you're trying to paint the inside of the stomach, it's kind of really hard. Maybe I can reach it better from the back. Yeah, I could probably reach it better from the back. Might as well finish the front with his little arms and all. The only good thing is the base coat dries a lot faster. So I might just finish one character and see how that one turns out. So I'm still quite unsure about what I'm going to do. On what order to paint these in, because I was thinking about base coating all of these, but I realized if I do that, I will probably be rambling the entirety of the time, and by the time I finish all these huge things, all you're going to see is me doing a base coat, which I think is kind of sad, considering. So I might just try to let this one dry for a bit, right after I finish doing it, and maybe grab one of these smaller actual humanoid characters, like what I'm going to guess her name is Eli. And she's the character that I play whenever I play Tainted Grail with my dad, and I might just paint her black to get ready for layer painting. But so far, Famine is looking very nice. All robed in black. It's faster, the heartbeat. I wish that this was a dream. It came a monster with in my head. Out of my own and on those there. See, I'm singing again, and I realize it now. I have a habit of singing when I get bored, especially when I'm painting, because I don't realize anybody else is around. Either that when I'm reading. I have a habit of humming while I'm reading, and I don't know what song it is half the time. I just start randomly humming. Which is strange, because normally you're not supposed to be able to do 2 things at once. Or multiple things at once, I should say. Some say it's impossible, because the brain can't focus on more than one thing at a time, and I'm like, well, yeah, then how the heck am I reading at the same time while humming? My friends think I'm crazy sometimes, but that's probably because I am slightly insane. I am my daddy's daughter, so... Well, I guess father's daughter, technically. I'm the video game geek along with my dad, so... But then I got art from somewhere. I'm not really sure where. Because now I sew... Which is a fun time. My grandmother helped me make my Halloween costume. And I paint. My sister's getting into art too, which was surprising. Well, actually, no. We both like the arts in some way or shape or form. I'm more of a painting drama student. She's definitely into acting along with me, but I think she likes more of the drawing aspect of it, which means she'll probably like it when she gets to high school, because the drama I do there, I also do a bunch of the painting for my school, which is definitely helpful. Especially when there's a lot to paint and you only have so much time. Definitely want to get a bunch of it done. Wow, this thing's getting harder to paint. I've got little tree limbs that need to be painted all on all sides, which means it's pretty hard to paint. Like I said, this thing has a lot of actual hidden edges, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I want to truly get into all the crevices, because one major thing I like about painting everything in black as a base coat is that if I miss something when painting, it kind of looks more like a shadowing type of thing, which means it looks very nice. Oh, this is a Steven Universe song. Sorry. Didn't mean to say that. Yeah, but I think this is starting to look very nice. It's quite black. No, I don't think I like this color. It needs to be painted black. What do you guys think so far? He actually looks quite nice. We're gonna move the other two in here. He looks actually quite good entirely in black. I'm doing it right. Whoops. A little too much paint on my brush. I need to paint as much as I can with the glob of paint I had. You know what, this is actually looking pretty good right now. I'm actually almost done, which makes me very happy, considering I have spent about 30 minutes talking about random things and painting. And that is quite a bit of time to be base painting. So, but it's coming along quite a bit, actually. The harder part is trying to touch a spot where there is no paint, which means like the entirety of the skirt for the most part is dry. Ah, now I need to get the inside of his stomach. Though it's technically his rib cage, whatever. Oops. Seem to get some paint on my fingers. Oh well. Though one thing, as I was looking at pictures of other men here, and I liked how some people did them. There was one person who did his almost entirely stone, and I liked it. But the only problem was that I don't think these things would be entirely stone. Like, the fabric right here in the back, I don't think that'd be stone. I think that'd be actual fabric. Like a red type of color or something. Then you have things like, most of it would be, yeah, red. I mean, stone. Then the other thing was, there's a bunch of the statue which has aspects like swords multiple places, and there's skeletal hands, and a skeletal skull, and then there's candles everywhere. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't really want to paint these to look entirely like stone and have little lights where the candles were. I'm like, I'd find that pretty boring. So what I'm planning to do instead is that, for the most part, yeah, they're going to be stone, because, well, they're kind of stone statues, so I don't know why they wouldn't be stone. But the major change to these is that I don't want them to be entirely stone, so like the skeletal hands will be skeletal hands. So I think that's one aspect that doesn't stay the same. But then another thing would be, I do not want them just to be lit up like the candles are. For one, like I said, the skeletal hands I think should be more of a white color. But that could just be me. I do not like just a ton of stone, because that doesn't really make them interesting in my opinion. It looks really cool, apparently, to the pictures I saw, but it's not exactly what I would like to do with my figures. Especially not when I'm the one painting it. I do like adding quite a bit of color to mine sometimes. But I am also a little bit strange here and there. And I got all the spots that I could easily reach. Now I'm going to run my brush over the very wet back of this thing to try to get rid of as much excess paint as I have, so that there is no paint filling up the details and clogging them up. Because I'd like to be able to see as much detail as possible off these things. If you clog the detail, that means the shade will get stuck with this base paint, and lots of things will go wrong, especially like dry brushing when you're trying to hook onto things. There won't be anything to hook onto. And I think that's all the base painting I need to do for this one. Nope, still got a bunch of black in my brush. That's the reason why I had the piece of paper. Because I make quite a mess when painting. This one's going to sit over here and dry for a bit. And I guess I will start on a lie. Probably shouldn't have cleaned my brush, but I'm going to start painting a lie black while my min here is drying, so that if I get to, I'm thinking about maybe doing a min here in one of the characters, which I've chosen a lie, but also gives me something to do while the big min here is drying. Because there are multiple different types of times for drying when it comes to different types of paint. And out of all of them, I think shade takes the longest to dry, since it's a liquid base. It's really very liquidy compared to the other paints. So I think it takes the longest. The base actually dries pretty quick comparatively. Since the mint here is so big and I use a bit more paint than what I normally use, it might take a bit longer than anticipated. But Eli is going along pretty well so far. Trying not to clog any of her really cool detailing. Whenever I get around to it, I'm also going to paint all of the major monsters that we got figures for, since we actually have a Tainted Grail Monsters of Avalon box, and I think they'd be very cool considering they're some of the more detailed figures of this game. I think it'd be a lot of fun to actually paint them. So probably after I finish painting all of them in here, and Eli, and all the other main characters, I may get around to painting the monsters. Starting with some of the early off creatures you face so far, like creatures that we've actually shown in our game. I'm thinking about painting them first, so that if they show up, since we're lower level, we have them again. And also I kind of want to show how they look when they're painted, and not just gray statues on our board. And would you look? Painting a lie took barely any time at all. Well, there is lovely, lovely Eli. Doesn't she look fun all black? Now time to wash my brush all over again. There we go. Let's see how our big min here is drawing. Nope, he's still actually pretty wet. I actually think detail's clogging it up again. Guess I better sop up some of those liquid. And I can wash my brush again. It's just a little bucket of already dirty water, so don't want any details to get clogged. So we're gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna clean my brush again. 3 times the charm, right? Maybe I'll stop forgetting the one that I need to have brushes used again. Would be the best thing to say, I guess. Well, so far, I'm about 40 minutes in so far, and I've at least painted 2 figures entirely base colored. Okay, since the back of this min here is still drying, we're going to do some of the front. So the major thing about this is that I would like to paint the candles a whiter color, but I don't exactly want them to be a bright white either, since they're supposed to be a little dirty. Not so nice. So we're going to use a layer of Dawnstone, for the candles themselves. This one actually has, there aren't lots of candles like being held or at the base. Like there's one candle in the back and one on the front, and then he's holding one. But the branches actually off of his back have more. Now that I think about it, I probably should do the branches first before I do any of the candles, since there's actually a bunch of other things, like there are chains holding candles, and I probably should get those painted first, actually, before I start with anything else. So most of the back, and as you can see, these things sticking out through here are actually branches, and I think, just my personal opinion, that they would be made of wood. So let's see if I've got a dark brown. My problem is that I probably should have done this in a base color, since I need something actually darker. Gonna put the black away for now. So it's between two base colors, actually, which means I'd have to repaint the base, but that's fine. I'd probably go with Mornfang Brown, since I think the other browns are a little too light for a dark world. This is actually a very well-used brown of mine, since I use it for a bunch of other figures I've done so far. But I think for the most part, besides the back, which is overly wet right now, so I'm going to avoid that section, there's actually a bunch on the front for wood that I can get done. And I don't actually need to grab a bunch of paint for this, because I don't need to entirely fill in every little spot, because the black is pretty much used as a shading type of mechanism. So if I just get a little bit of paint on my brush, just kind of fan it over top of the black, it adds a browner tone, but it doesn't take away from the already added in black. As you can see, it's a little dark in some areas, and then it's lighter in others. Yeah, it's actually going pretty well so far. Got a bunch of branches already painted on one side. There are definitely a few others I want to get done. And all the ropes I want to be painted a lighter brown, because they're rope. So we're just gonna paint some of the ropes slightly browner. Anyways, they're being held mostly on wood, so I kind of wanted to paint them brown either way. Hey, at least I for the most part, stopped talking to myself. That's an improvement for usual. So as you can see, it's starting to gain a bit more color. But since I really don't want the brown to pop out as much as some of the other things I'm going to add, it's only getting a lighter. It's getting definitely a much lighter coat than I would normally give it, since I am kind of using this base color as almost a dry, though not using it since it's not as thick, it kind of has a different aspect. It's kind of adding a bit more color to the already dark features, but I don't have enough on the brush to fill in the detail, so it's just mainly adding a little bit more browner tone to the already black exterior. But it's actually coming out looking really cool right now. Which actually looks a lot better than I thought it would look. Considering. I think it probably needs a bit more brown to bring out its colors a bit more. But it's definitely hard to see on both sides considering I'm trying not to add too much. At the same time, I'm trying to add enough so the detail pops out a bit more. Definitely a bit more clear on the back side of the figure. So as you can see, it's definitely starting to change color, but not too much. Definitely enough to be just slightly noticeable. And so there's also chains hanging down from a bunch of these branches. There's also stone swords. But since I wanted the swords to pop out a bit more, and chains, I'm planning to use a more metallic color for that. I have been trying to figure out which I should use, and I think I'm going to go with a layer color, because these are also detailed, so I prefer to use the more detailed brush for this aspect. So for now, the brown's going to go away, and I'm going to grab my lovely Iron Breaker. This is a color I've not used before, and it's actually a lot liquider. Well, I think all of the harder materials have been stuck to the bottom, so now it's entirely almost pure liquid right now. Which isn't a good thing, which means I really need to mix it. Nope, still pretty liquidy. That's what the chopsticks for. I learned a while that some paints, if you haven't used them for a while, get a little stuck, and all the liquid stuck at the bottom. I mean, all the liquid stuck at the top and all the harder materials stuck at the bottom. So I normally just grab a chopstick, and I've been using this one for a while actually, as long as it's dry, so I don't mix on new colors. But it's quite helpful when you're trying to mix paints that don't want to mix. And also, you can use what's on the brush since it's already kind of mixed for the most part. So I'm just going to use what's on the chopstick for now. The silver actually looks pretty good for the candles. Yeah, we're gonna put this chopstick right across here for right now, just so it sits and I can paint. Yeah, the silver is also good with the little platforms the candles are sitting on that are actually attached to the chains. It also adds a nice color to the candles themselves. It also is a little less noticeable when you make a mistake, considering you can blend it out pretty easily sometimes. But that's just my own opinion, truthfully. Though this is actually going a lot better than I was expecting this one to be, considering I knew that out of all of them I thought Famine was going to be the harder one with its stomach the way it is. It's actually been a bit simpler than I was expecting it to be, which means I'm definitely not complaining because it helps if it's a little easier for my first painting stream. Oh, this is definitely a good song. Especially for us girls. Put your makeup on, do your nails done, curl your hair, put an extra mile, keep it slim. Do they like you? Do they like you? And then I'm also going to add a little bit more silver to any of the swords on this, because I think swords should have a bit more silvery tone compared to most of the gray that's going to go on everything else. Truthfully, I'm one for details, so I'm going to add as much detail as I possibly can to most things this thing is carrying. But just enough. So it looks still on the stonier, because this is actually pretty liquidy for a silver, so it actually is acting more like a shade in some ways, in some spots I should say, since what's left on my chopsticks is actually really liquidy. It really helps actually, but it's not acting as a shade, or it's not filling in, it's acting the opposite of shade, not filling in the holes, so it's actually looking more like stone than I thought it would, which actually makes me really happy with that. I really actually like the way this is turning out so far. And I guess while I have this silver already on this, we're going to take a little bit of this. Instead of using the white to make the skeleton hands come out a bit more, we're going to use some of this. Because this actually, in my opinion, looks a lot cooler. it's actually looking a lot cooler than I thought it would. And I actually kind of like the silver for the bones themselves, because it definitely makes them stand out a bit more than the kind of darker gray I'm planning to use for the rest of the stone. So far I actually think this is going pretty well. Some elements are standing out a bit more than others, so that's not a bad thing. I'm going to use the silver also make the skull a bit more prominent. So now the skull pops out a bit more. And I'm also going to grab a little bit of this and put it on the rib cage as best as I can. I already have this, and it's kind of acting like a dry right now, rubbing right against the top part of the detail. But it's not as thick as a dry, so I'm not having to use as much. Considering it's already on a chopstick, it's going to go bad anyways. So I kind of like that for my silver. Now the other color I needed was a normal gray, but I wanted the much darker one. It also sounds pretty liquidy, so I need to mix this one pretty well too. Since a bunch of these have actually not been opened before, since I haven't used a ton of the colors that I own so far. And I seem to be getting silver all over my fingers. So this is going to go over the hood for the most part. I don't like this one, so we're going to change to the lighter gray. It's not making anything stick out at all, which I kind of wish it would. That's why I like the silver that I used earlier. We're going to see how this looks actually on the cloak. The good thing is that I just need to make sure I don't fill in too much. And I don't have to be as specific as a base coat where you're trying to fill in every little spot. Since this paint is definitely different from the others. But let's see. So far I think it's actually going pretty well. It doesn't look as stone-like as the sword most of the rest of it looks. But that's fine. Get some of that silver again because I forgot to do. I grabbed way too much. Well, it's definitely starting to look much different than it originally had. Now, I don't want the hood to be too light. I actually cut it quite a bit like darker tone of the hood. Nope, too much paint. That was a bit more paint than I wanted. So I think I'm going to show this to camera for my starting part. So this is how it looks so far. Now it is mostly gray. All of these skeleton points are more of a metallic color. And then most of the rest of it is just normal flat gray. Now we are going to do, I haven't done the rest of the stone features on the back yet actually. Since I'm trying to do all of the bony features in a metallic color, so it stands out a bit more. Ooh, it's actually a brown, so I need to grab the brown real quick. And just while I had this color, I know I messed up earlier here. Just to add a little bit of brown to fix it. I'm dropping everything apparently. And then back to what I was doing. I was adding some gray to the back of the stone piece here. Then I'm going to fix the piece of cloth that's also on the back, because again, I don't think that should be, since I think the cloth on the back should be a different color from the rest of it, since it looks more like cloth than it does look like drapery on a statue. Considering a drapery right here would not make much sense. And also, because I think a dark, bloody-ish red would look about right and fitting on a min here, considering these things are from a more dark time. And I'm not planning to use much. It's quite just like the dip of my brush, just slightly. Probably help if my brush wasn't wet. And it is literally just a slight hue change. Like I said earlier, I very much hate clogging up detail. So I try to avoid it as best as possible. It should pop out a bit more. Just a slight hue change, truthfully.
In 1933, a horror preacher in a $20 suit made an outrageous claim. He said he was gone. And the thing is, people believed him. A new kind of sensational rhythmic racing Harlem is a religious phenomenon called Fall of Divine. Find out how 5'2" black man in an exquisitely tailored suit became a cult leader and guide to thousands. Listen to the unbelievable true story of Father Divine. Tap now to listen on Spotify.
Here's a real tweet from a real Chick-fil-A guy. Colin writes,
Yo, Chick-fil-A has mac and cheese now.
thanks for spreading the word to the world, Colin. Try the mac and cheese yourself in your local Chick-fil-A. Real Chick-fil-A guys pay for their system.
I quite a bit like this actually, so far. The front still looks a little bit dead, but I haven't gotten all the candles fixed yet. So it makes sense that it looks just a bit dead so far. Also, because that's kind of what I'm going for. You can see his skeleton. But, since the candles are actually pretty nice so far, I think the only major thing is that I would like to add a bit more light to the candles. Since, no, right, this is why I need chopsticks, because of the light.
With soft jersey outfits, practical sportswear, supple suits, and lightweight shoes, she gave women the freedom of movement, the freedom to forget the past.
Because my white is absolutely horrible, first of all. It is so clumpy and chunky, and I really need to get a new white at some point. Probably be useful too. Anyway, just this is the major reason I have a chopstick. It's because the white is dreadful. Because I think the candles are a little too silvery. So I'm going to add a bit white to each of them. We're not going to question how some of these candles are lit, since I don't think them in here will stay lit that long, and it really makes me question how far these things are. So, for the most part, it's actually almost done, I think. Besides the fact that I've only done 2 different types of paint so far. I mean, for like the major part, base part of this is pretty much done. Now time for the more detailed stuff like candles, which I actually hadn't figured out how to do yet. But I was thinking a little bit of orange. That is not orange. Sorry. We're gonna use one of my good oranges. Yeah, I'm gonna use my really, really bright orange. It's a horrible color of orange, but it would be useful for something else. gonna grab a bright yellow too. Hold on. My yellow looks dreadful. So the major thing I was going to do with this, you're going to water down this beautiful color. And you're going to spread it around where the affected area is. The only problem was I wasn't sure how well this would work. This is not an actual base thing. So I was going to test this out on one area. If it didn't look good, I'm just going to get rid of it. But so far it doesn't look bad. Actually looks pretty terrible actually. What do you guys think? Little area lit up in the back. I think it's pretty bad, but some people would like it probably. Actually, I quite a bit like it now, but I think I added a bit too much. So I'm going to probably go back over it with some silver later to fix the sword. The sword got a bit too much in my opinion. But since I actually quite a bit like it, we're pretty much turning in a mixed color of paint into watercolor. These are better. That is still pretty bad. starting to actually look really cool with the lights glowing. Okay, I need to darken all of this. Can I add some shade? It looks cool. Problem was it didn't have enough orange. It didn't look quite right. Wow, I actually haven't talked in a little while, which is surprising. But this is actually looking a lot cooler than I thought it was going to. Though I do need a bit of light. Don't need that much light. It's actually looking a lot better. Than I thought it would. So it's definitely glowing anywhere there's a candle. Because I kind of like it. Since the world's already full of darkness, I think the candles would burn. Though I think the one in the back is a little too big. But I just need to add a bit more silver back there and I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I actually quite a bit like how this one turned out. Though it definitely needs a bit more help. Because I do not believe that this one's done, in my opinion. But I'm very detailed when it comes to painting sometimes, so I'm also very opinionated. Well, first of all, it definitely needs some shade, definitely. And I also really would like to try a dry brush. But I do also want to do one more thing. I would need very light brown. Yep, this is the color I need. Easy to mix. So apparently all my layers seem to have gone really liquidy. Much better. So one thing I noticed is each arm has multiple types of hands. And I thought it would be cooler if they were all different color, though this is definitely not the color that I want to use. Need something more on the brown side. Deathclaw brown will probably do it, because it's not as pale of a skin tone type color. Because I want something a bit darker than that. This might be a better tone. This is a better tone, yes. Definitely the tone I wanted. Because I wanted each little belt to pop out a bit more. Since there seems to be a bunch of them. And I thought it'd be nice if each one had its own little accent for it. Let me turn the music down. Just to have its own little accents. Also adds a bit more pop of color. Sure, we'll watch a short video to listen to more music. But yeah, there's actually quite a few bands on these arms. Going to bring out the rope a bit more. Considering the rope should probably not be the same color as the wood. Considering it's rope, and I don't think they would make stone rope for a statue. Swing my heart across the line. But yeah, I think this is pretty good color for our rope. That's my sheet of paper. Well, the statue's definitely got more life to it. Because it doesn't look so dead. But I think I should do something with this sword, because it's kind of boring. But what? Maybe a little touch of gold? The very dark side of gold, actually. Or change. So I use a very dark silver when I was base coating, so maybe I should lighten up the blade of the sword to give it a different texture from the hilt of the sword, so it makes the sword and its hilt look different, well, the blade and its hilt look different, and I think it would actually look very nice comparatively. Though I definitely did not mix this well enough, because it's pure liquid. Yay, it is not pure liquid, it's just mostly liquid. Okay, that's not what I was hoping for. Well, that was no use. That is the type of silver I was looking for. Something not so liquidy. The problem is I quite a bit like how it turned out, so I don't really want to change it too much. Though I do need to fix one thing on the back. The sword I had originally painted back here got a little too yellow when I was adding the candle shading, because one half of the sword should probably still be on the silver side of things. So should a bunch of this area actually still be silverish. Okay, I quite a bit like how this one turned out. Now, I think the only major thing is that I would like to add a bit more to the stone aspect of the coat. Since I've used most of the colors I've actually needed for it so far. So it's mainly the overcoat that I do not like so far, and I think I need to grab a nice dry brush for it. Nope, that is a metallic dry brush. I just want a normal gray. Ah, this one. Wait, these don't shake. I'm trying to shake it dry, and that doesn't work. Wouldn't expect it to work. Let's see, where's my lovely dry brush? All of this silver, all the gray I want to add. Where is that silver? I would like to see the silver for a second. Wow, silver was on the side, wasn't it? I'm about to put the brush the wrong way in. I think this one might have been open, because it is like gelatin. Nope, could just be silver. Nope, it's just very horrible silver. But I still need that silver, so... Though this stuff is like pure gelatin, I think this one may have been very horrible silver. I think that's all for dry brushing that I want to do. Now I guess time for shade. And I guess the best color of shade would probably be black. And brown on the trade cards. I don't think red or orange or yellow or flesh or green or blue are right, so we'll probably go with black, considering that's probably the best shade you can go for. We'll start with the brown though. Well, this actually means that I am almost done with this figure, considering the last thing I normally do is a shade. And I just managed to pour shade all down my fingers. Lovely time. Well, you know what? Got a bunch of bunch of brown. Might as well use it. Yeah, since I managed to get brown, I might as well use it as the shade for the most part, right? Considering on this statue, I don't think black and brown really matters which one I do. It's gonna look about the same. And let's give it a brown undertone. That's not a bad thing for a statue, an old statue. which means elements are getting to it. And also I can add black back over it later, because I don't see much of a difference. Okay, now that I've run out of black, never mind, there's a ton of it on my finger actually. I have enough brown shade on my fingers to cover like the entirety of the front. Can't believe I managed to get all over the entire container, well not an entire, but most of a container of a Grax Earth shade. And now that just needs to sit for 15 minutes or until dry. I need to let my fingers dry. Or just rub my hands together and get it all dry that way. Now, I had already gotten one character slightly prepared beforehand. And I don't think I'm going to be getting to any other min here since I've gone for an hour and a half. So I think for now I'm just going to go to one other character real quick. And since I want to do something with a bit more color, I'm going to do a lie. So first, I'm going to make, for the most part, this is dry. By pressing the two halves together. Well, it doesn't matter, this thing's pretty wet either way. We're going to do a lie. So for the most part, she has skin. Well, yeah, she's a human being, obviously. So for the most part, I probably need flesh tones. Probably more of the K than most. And I'm going to need green. Because she wears green. Lots of it, actually. The only good thing is, I happen to own 3 different colors of green. The one's a little brighter than the rest, so I think I'll have to go with 2 that I already have. And I will need a light brown. We're going to start with the brown. So what I'm going to start with is her staff. And her little bag on her back. And the one good thing is that this person seems to have lots of belts. So we're going to make most of the things she's probably carrying are probably brown for the most part. Especially her belt. Probably the bags she's carrying for the most part. Let's see. Yeah, for the most part, what she's wearing is green. Actually, now that I look at it, what I just painted brown is actually green. Isn't it lovely when you don't pay attention, you realize everything this girl, your Carol's wearing, you put like, yeah, I think everything on the belt's probably brown. No, it's all green. It's all green. So I just painted a bunch of things green. I mean, a bunch of things brown for no good reason. And truthfully, I think I should start with the clothes and then get the horrible awfulness that is is skin. Actually, in all honesty, I probably should start with the skin, considering the skin's probably going to be a little bit harder. It would be helpful if this was shaken. If it isn't shaken, it's just liquid, and liquid isn't really useful in this case. So. I probably should have just painted this girl, for the most part, brown. Probably would have been easier. Maybe I put a bit too much layer on her. I think I just flooded most of her front with tan. I think that was a lot easier. Nope. Truthfully, I think this looks a little too bright. Okay. There's a dark base color. Because I've learned, don't like how light the color is. And it's a layer color. The darker one. Just grab the base one that's that color. Especially since most of the time the base color is much darker. By quite a bit normally. This is lots of detailed work. Wow, she wears a lot of green. I'm kind of happy I'm repainting this base color. I really hate this base color. Yeah, this is where you add the more shaded colors. And I'm dropping the Well, I'm actually doing pretty well, and I know I haven't spoken in quite a while, but when I'm in trance by painting, I sometimes zone out entirely. This is actually going a lot better than I thought it was, though. She's starting to look about right. I haven't gotten her blonde hair done, and I do need to fix her skin again, because I messed it up. Though, I think I realized something. Made her too tan. She's actually a fairly pale character, so I'm going to add a bit of the other skin tone to her and see if that helps her, because wow, she does not look right. So the fact that I messed up a bit when I was cutting her clothes. So I just went over the skin I had already previously made. One added the newer skin tone and blending it in gently, but I'm also covering up the mistakes I had from the green clothing I had put on her. And I should also say I made quite a few green mistakes. I think she's starting to look fairly normal. Okay, so now even more detailed would be the color of her eyes, her lips. But since those are harder, we're going to use a slightly darker skin tone with a very tad bit, like a tiny, tiny touch. We're going to use the really, really bright green. And I'm going to need something really fine tipped. So it's really tiny. And she's got a pretty green eye. Now I need to get her blonde hair done. If I stop dropping paint on myself. Are you interrupting again? Come and join. I'm about to hit the 2-hour mark.
Alright, I'll look at the progress.
There you go.
Looks interesting.
Yay. At the moment, I'm trying to get stupid blonde hair done.
Okay.
Yeah, stupid blonde hair is what we're going to call it.
Alright. Well, you have fun. Don't take too much longer.
Not planning to.
Okay.
Because I think I'm going to stop here, viewers, because I am tired and my hands are shaking. That's probably the best I'm going to get for a lie right now. At least she's got green clothing. At least you can tell it's clothing this time. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on my very messy painting stream. If you haven't noticed, very messy. My hands are covered in brown and black. So thank you for watching Day After Day Gaming. I'm Kat, and keep on gaming day after day. Thanks for watching.